Hi guys, thanks for joining me. Got something to share with you today. It's a Green River knife. Excellent knife for bushcraft, hunting, fishing, survival, in my opinion. You can pick one up, if you know how, for around $12. And also, I'd call this a historical knife, not an antique and get one new, but not a reproduction. You can get this knife made the same pattern, basically the same materials, the same company. And it was originally made in the 1800s. That's when they started making them. So this same knife was carried by mountain men, buffalo hunters, Indians, settlers, others. And you can buy one new today, essentially the same knife. And it worked then, so it works now. But also, they didn't just think it worked, they thought it was the best. Up to the Green River was a phrase they used to mean excellent, well made, the best. And were they onto something? This is quite a bit different than what a lot of people today would think of as a survival knife or a bushcraft knife. But were they onto something? I've been carrying this every day basically for 3 months, testing it out. If you go back, it's in a lot of my past videos. I think they were onto something. The traditional pattern might work for you, it might not. But in my research, I found the history to be fascinating, very interesting, and I hope you do as well. In the very early colonization of New England, the Europeans traded with the Indians. A lot of times it was beaver pelts. I've heard it was one beaver pelt for one tomahawk head or axe head. They also traded knives, of course. And those trade knives, so-called, we would look at and think of as kitchen knives, which there were, because the colonists used the same sort of knives in the kitchen and in the woods. But knives were imported from Europe. But then, in the early 1800s, John Russell started thinking about producing knives in America. And I believe he started in 1834, but then an actual factory he established in 1836 in Greenfield, Massachusetts on the Green River. It was called the John Russell Manufacturing Company, but these became known as Green River knives. And initially, it didn't take off. People were skeptical of something made in America. They thought of European-made knives as quality. But John Russell was making really good knives, and it did catch on. And as I said, up to the Green River, it became a phrase meaning high quality, the best. So these were made in Massachusetts, and they were shipped to New Orleans by ocean, and then went up the Mississippi. I heard they were packed in like wooden kegs, a bunch of knives in wooden kegs, up the Mississippi to Missouri, and then wagon train to New Mexico, and the Santa Fe Trail to California. So they were used by mountain men, buffalo hunters, miners, settlers, and the Indians. I've heard that for a long period of time it was the most common knife among the Indians. And it was so well prized that I believe European companies started stamping their blades with Green River and importing them. So it says Green River on it, might not necessarily be one from the Greenfield, Mass factory. Might be from overseas. Also, the phrase, "give 'em the Green River," way back when, meant to stab a guy, whether literally or figuratively. Okay, so let's go over the specs. The knife is 9 inches overall, full tang, 5-inch blade with a flat grind. C1095 carbon steel. A surprising difference to many modern knives is its thinness. It's 1/16 of an inch thick, but that makes it only 3.4 ounces. Walnut handles and 3 brass rivets holding it in place. One thing I noticed compared to a lot of modern knives that's not as beautifully finished as a lot of knives. So when I first got it, this handle was sharp. Not that it's going to cut me, but a little uncomfortable sharp, especially with that diamond pattern and this coffin edge. And I thought of sanding it, but then I thought, well, I'll just use it as is. I never got any blisters or anything, but it's just a little uncomfortable. So after this video, I think I'll sand it down. It's carbon steel. In my opinion, the disadvantages of carbon steel are exaggerated because I didn't oil that with anything other than my own sweat, my own body oils. Like I said, everyday carry. And I've done a lot of hiking in the rain. It was a really wet spring, wet summer. I trudged through this. I camped out in the rain. So you're getting this patina. I only very gently cleaned it, like with a rag, no scouring or anything. So you can see, hope you can see with the lighting, it's a gray. So I haven't had any problems with the carbon steel. Good thing about the carbon steel, can throw sparks from a rock. I use flint. Also, carbon steel, easy to sharpen, in my opinion. I've only sharpened it once and used it a lot. Heavy use, some of that. Also light use, making feather sticks, food preparation, things like that. Only had to sharpen it once, and that was very easy. Diamond sharpener. And then I felt like maybe I had some very minor burrs, so I let this drop. And that was it. One thing I feel I really should mention is that you don't get a sheath. It just comes with nothing. Maybe that's a deal breaker for you. I like making my own sheaths. Okay guys, I feel I should demonstrate getting an ember. Using the knife as my steel, and got my piece of quartz. I think I misspoke earlier and said I use flint. There's no flint in New Hampshire, so quartz is my go-to. Got some smoky quartz here. I don't like doing this, so I don't practice enough. That's on me. Let's see if I can make it happen. I got some charred punkwood, and this is charred horsehoof fungus. Alrighty. Hold it in a way that I'm not going to cut myself. That's a very sharp knife. Had an ember, I don't know if it went out or it's still there. No, it is still there. It's going to town, it's just bright sun. Don't do this in the wind. Okay guys, so carbon steel knife, and around here there's all kinds of quartz. If no quartz, I can make sparks with a great many rocks. Just something to think about when you choose a knife, choose which one you're going to carry. In my opinion, this is a good choice. Alrighty, let's do some carving. So this is hard, dry cedar. Really dried out. So I'm going to try to get some fat shavings there. Big fat ones. Like I was trying to carve all the way through the stick. See if I can get some delicate shavings. Very sharp knife. In my opinion, that's what I want, and the thin blade makes it easier to do that, in my opinion, than a big fat sharpened pry bar. Because the flat grind on this knife, meaning that the angle starts here and goes all the way down. At the very end you have the final bevel, final edge. Very good food carving. Cut up your food. They say hunting knife, but really it's designed as a butcher knife. So, kill an animal, hunting or trapping, gotta butcher it, this is what you want. And this pattern wasn't specifically for skinning, they had separate skinning knives. But it does work well if you just have one knife, also for skinning. So it has everything you need. Okay, I'll demonstrate the technique. Put the knife against your log, your limb, then you hit it with a baton. See how I'm cutting in? Helps it, it's really sharp. And this is beating on the knife. I admit I did this. I built a shelter, and I should have seen beforehand there was a root right in the wrong place. Actually, no, it's a sapling. What was I thinking? And then wanted to get rid of it. Hey, there's fat wood in here. The things you find when you're demonstrating techniques for your friends. This is a hard cedar log and there's fat wood in there, by my definition. Oh yeah. Oh, I wish this was smell-o-vision for you guys. Well, there you go. One reason to start notching a big log. And I mean, I'm not going to do it because, I mean, we'll be here for a good long time, but I could eventually get through this whole log, and this is more chainsaw type material, but if I had to, just add this, could do it. So, not too bad. Wow, more fat wood. This is like the mother lode. Settlers and Indians back in the day, they would have used their tomahawk or their axe. Their thin knife, which was their butcher knife. Butcher animals. But if you really love to, had to, might be situations you had to, you could. I don't see any damage to the blade. The only damage I got to my blade was beating it up with a piece of quartz. this enough of a demonstration? Okay, so that's my spiel. Maybe you like the knife. Thinking about trying it yourself. Where can you get one? Well, a lot of companies that deal with bushcraft stuff, outdoors, reenactors, places like trackofthewolf.com, crazycrow.com, dixiegunworks.com. I'll put those addresses in the description of the video so you can find them. But you go to a place like that, you're going to spend a little bit more. I said you might be able to find one for around 12 bucks if you knew how. Well, here's your secret. You go to a restaurant supply company. For example, K-Tom Restaurant Supply. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. KATOM.com. So I believe that's KTOM.com. And last I checked, it was around 12 bucks. But then you have shipping, which you have to pay. However, if you could find a restaurant supply company in your area, could get it really cheap. Or order a bunch of stuff. I bought this one Green River knife. I have another one. It's the paring knife version, the 4-inch blade. That's in one of my videos, or some of my videos. Found it for free. It was at the dump of all things. We're hillbillies out here, so there's a particular part of the dump, a little shed, we call it the mall. You can pick the trash there. And what do you know, I found a free bushcraft knife. But I'm thinking about getting a new one. Maybe their skinning knife, other patterns. I love this knife so much, I might get another one, just use it in the kitchen, right? So, you know, my wife or friends won't be horrified to see me using a woods knife, cutting up their food, you know. But anyway, guys, I recommend it. Didn't just pull it out of the box and make the video. I've been carrying it basically every day. Few exceptions. You know, you go somewhere, it's not polite to have a knife, stuff like that, or it's illegal. Won't go into that, but basically, with very few exceptions, every day, and hasn't failed me yet. The old timers, you know, the Mtn Man, they were on to something. So thanks for tuning in. Making another video as soon as I can, and I hope to see you then. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Ephesians 6:10.